Yo, what up guys? Today we have some interesting news. Now, I didn't recently cover the drama or the talks about the nerfs coming to PvM common loots because I just didn't have time, unfortunately. However, my take was pretty much the same as everybody else's. Like, what the frick? Are we not going to talk about like proteins and XP lamps and portables and everything else as well that are devaluing the things that you guys are talking about a hell of a lot more? And while I didn't necessarily disagree with nerfing PvM drops as long as they were working on the whole sort of idea and not just literally that, so they could preserve the value of Treasure Hunter, that was kind of like my take on it. But today we have some very interesting news because Jagex have backtracked on it, kind of in a way, but in fact this is a massive win for Jagex in my opinion. As you can see here, there is a Reddit post that was posted by mod Huli, and this is basically them taking the time to actually listen to players, which is crazy and a really awesome thing to see. So let's take a look at this together and see exactly what was said. So Huli wrote, "Hey everyone, before the long weekend we wanted to drop a quick note about the recently announced game health balancing in our May roadmap check-in," and this is the link to the post. And then they said, "Since Friday, we've spent some time really taking the feedback on this and discussing with the team." Now, personally, obviously they did, right? Because they're actually making action on it. Jagex, you should have posted something way sooner and just said, "We've sent all your stuff. We're going to keep listening to the feedback over the next few days, and then we'll give you an update later in the week." Maybe they didn't know they would do that, but either way, you should, if there's any sort of like thing like this where the community's given some sort of, not an uproar, but you know what I mean, there's talk about it like this, then just immediately say, "Oh, we'll send you feedback, we're gonna take it on board and have a talk about it, and then we'll get back to you with some more information as soon as possible." Just do that straight away, like day one, day two, whatever, and players they'll feel a lot better about it for sure. But anyway, they say, "While balance is important, so is listening to our players. And it's one of the reasons we dropped this news ahead of time rather than alongside the release." So the balancing absolutely is still important, and it does need to happen at some point. If it's for the game health, like, I'm not saying that they shouldn't have done it. It absolutely is important, regardless of when it released or whenever the issue started. If they see an issue with the game now, it does need doing. But again, there was a lot of like whatabouts, during this. So anyway, based on your feedback, we can confirm these changes will not release on May 12th. The augmented runecrafting and thieving update release date is unaffected and will remain on May 12th. So they are not releasing these changes when they said, because they have seen it and gone, you know what, we need to take some more time for this, and we need to consider it a bit more and probably talk about it with the players a bit more too. So moving on, they say, "These are important changes, but we need to get them right. Balancing something downwards will never be something we expect delight over." No, of course not. But we do want it to be something that's understandable and feels fair. We can only do that by listening and taking the time to have a conversation. So this is what will happen from here. Okay, cool. So they say, "We will review feedback points and adjust our balancing based on the feedback we received. Hopefully, this means they will balance it around proteins." Highly doubt, highly doubt, but we'll have to see what this means eventually. But this is obviously still a good step one. "We'll present the adjusted proposal and include more detail on our thinking or intent." Okay. And then I guess this isn't like completely decided at this point. They'll present like, this is what we're thinking now, and what do you guys think? And then they say, "We'll listen to your feedback and decide on next steps." That's exactly what they say. So that's step 3. So I mean, it couldn't really get any better than this. This is this is good, right? "We'll make sure this message is also added to next week's This Week in RuneScape, but we didn't want to hold getting this news out any longer than we had to. Of course, they know that people like me, content creators, will also talk about this and spread the news as well. Thanks for some really good feedback and detailed responses, giving us a great starting point for areas we can adjust. Small side note, this is not the game health updates that were included in the roadmap. Saw a bit of confusion on that. We'll be clear on our terminology next time." Okay, so there's actually more game health updates coming. I thought this as well, I'll be honest. So this is good to see. But again, yeah, you would definitely, I mean, you literally said game health updates, so it's pretty easy for people to assume that. But Huli, first of all, appreciate this a ton. This is really good, and players will appreciate this. When you communicate with players, and I've said this a million times, players appreciate it a lot. This all like this is like the first step of where people go, "All right, cool, nice," and they're actually listening. Good. Now, I still think that this is absolutely going to happen to some extent, but they need to address the things that people have been saying about what about MTX? Like, are you going to do anything about proteins? Proteins absolutely affect this way more than Rax's drop specifically. Alkables, I think, definitely need adjusting. I think alkables are crazy for sure. And I mean, at the end of the day, if PvM drops change slightly, I don't really care, as long as it genuinely is for the health of the game. But they cannot sit there and say that this is what we're doing for the health of the game, and then continue running protein promotions and XP lamps whenever you log in. Like, you can log in, get lucky, and earn like 500k XP in a skill and log off for the day. How much supplies has that single player just avoided having to buy just by doing that, rather than the amount of time that single player would then have to go and take on one boss to be able to get the supplies to get that XP themselves. The XP, lamps, and stars, and the portables that save supplies, and the proteins themselves as well, have to be way worse than what some PVMers that take on some bosses. And you need to keep in mind that the people that are farming the living crap out of these bosses, they are a tiny percentage of players in comparison to the amount of people who log in and get free keys every day. The average PVMer aren't farming all that much about, like, in terms of supplies and stuff. Obviously there's a ton of people doing it, but those same people doing it every single day are also getting free keys every day and getting XP lamps that immediately remove the need for certain amount of supplies, getting protein items, getting all these things that change that. So if they want to nerf PvM and adjust the consumables, I actually have no problem with it, honestly, as long as at the same time I'm seeing them balance it on both sides. Because at the end of the day, if you reduce the amount of these skilling items coming into the game, yes, the value of those items will go up. But you know what else that does? That also incentivizes people to do their best to make sure that they're sticking to proteins and XP stars and all that sort of stuff way more than just getting the supplies, because it incentivizes you to buy more keys to get the things, because those things are now harder to get than they were. So people are now using proteins as their main source of doing this. They're going to want to do that even more when the supplies that they're replacing are even more expensive. So that's my kind of take on the whole thing. Obviously, I could have gone a lot more into depth about it, but honestly, the people have kind of caught on now. I think at first people were kind of just reacting very quickly, and I didn't really necessarily agree with everything, and I was thinking about it a little bit more, like, hold on, there's a lot more to this than just don't nerf PvM. So, you know, at the end of the day, if it's good for if it's important for the game health and Jagex think that, then they should act on it regardless of when it released. Because again, if there was a game-breaking bug in the game and it was like 6 years ago that this was added and they've only just found out about it, they should fix that. It definitely needs fixing, right? But either way, I just mainly wanted to make this video to update you guys that this will not be coming into the game straight away, and Jagex absolutely are making the right decision in terms of how they are handling this. However, there was also a reply from Hooli to a comment further down, so we'll talk about that as well. This person said, kind of wild that they backtracked on this. The changes need to happen eventually, which I completely agree. But I'm not surprised that they backtracked on it a little bit, because they definitely can do things better. And if they want to delay things to make sure it happens, the difference between, what, a few weeks compared to how long it's been is absolutely fine. And then Hooli says, the miss here is we need to take the time to detail the thinking behind it all of you, to all of you. Listen to feedback and make sure how we solve the problems involves players, which is, of course, good. We did talk about them before release intentionally to provide an opportunity to react, but we didn't take the time to start a conversation. One of the things we want to take from this is thinking about how we can present anything like this earlier in development, start proper conversations about them, and find a good balance that considers player feedback. The team are super behind this, and it's something we'll be looking to do in the future. So I do genuinely think that everything he said here is 100% true, and I actually get the feeling that we will see improvements to this sort of communication. In my opinion, all they need to do is, whenever they say that they want to do things like this, they should just pitch it and say, look, we see this problem. This is our current solution on how to fix it. We think it's important. This will likely be happening one way or another, but we wanted to hear your feedback before we threw it into the game. And then to just wait 2 weeks to see the feedback and then discuss the feedback. I think that's the best way of them going about this, and including players. This also gives them the opportunity to even say, look, we've heard your feedback, and while we don't agree, this is why we don't agree, and this is what the numbers are saying, and we are still going to be going ahead with this, and explain why. and players will likely be fine. If you communicate well with your players and you give them the opportunity to give their opinion and actually, you know, explain why you are not going with that feedback, then chances are you're going to be in a much better place than if you just drop it in the game and go, good luck. Anyway, I hope you all found this video helpful. I wanted to spread this around, of course, and of course, I mean, this is news and stuff. I wanted to cover it myself. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and other than that, I'll catch you all in the next one. See you later, guys. Bye.